Y'all are on the East Van Dan Shit Show.
I'm good. Let's start.
Awesome. Welcome, comedian Katie Ellen Humphries. How's it going?
Not too shabby. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm enjoying this cake right now.
Oh yeah, Bavarian cream. Did you say?
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah. It was no birthday. It was actually my 2-year sobriety yesterday.
Hey. Oh, congrats. That's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, yeah.
How um how did the experience of this second anniversary differ from the first one?
Well, this one I was 100% sober. The one before I was like
California
sober,
sober?
but I was still drinking like a fish.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay,
Um,
so yeah. So now it's is you're full on?
oh yeah. Yeah, I went into rehab last March, got out in September.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a interesting my life has been an interesting adventure
Sure.
to say the most. Um Actually the last podcast I did before I went to rehab, you might know her. She's a comedian. Her name's Brittany Lysing.
Yeah, I saw a video on your site after you hit me up, for sure. I
Okay,
love
yeah.
Brittany. She's
Yeah,
the
she's
best of us.
awesome.
She's
Yeah.
so funny.
Mhm. Yeah, she's hilarious. Um so yeah, saw you around in my neck of the woods at the vault, so I thought I'd hit you up, and here you are.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So,
show was so fun, man. I said it on stage that night, but I genuinely have wanted to perform at the Vault for years. I just think it's such a cool spot. Yeah, it's great vibe, great staff, great food, great drinks. It rules.
yeah, for sure. Have you performed in Nanaimo before?
Oh, I mean, it seems so unlikely that I haven't, but oh no, I yeah, I have. It was one of the last places I performed live uh in right before the pandemic. So I was on like International Women's Day tour, so early March, and we did a show at a college there, like in the student union.
Was it
Maybe,
Malaspina?
maybe,
VIU? Same thing.
yeah. I think maybe that second one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
same thing.
Um, but yeah, it was like just in that era. So this would have been like it was maybe like March 10, when stuff was starting to be like, seems like there's something going on internationally. Like we hadn't
Yeah,
quite got to like shutdown levels. But it was in the air. I mean, literally, but also, yeah, it was the wildest show because it was uh just one of the drunkest audiences I've ever performed for, which is a really high bar.
oh yeah, I bet. Well, I bet a lot of college kids, right?
Well, that's just it because it's a different type of drunk. Because I perform for drunks all the time, but not people that are drunk and new at being drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. So fuck the
But
pandemic.
yeah,
Seems
so
like
it had been a
ages
really
ago.
long time since I'd
Mm,
performed live in Nanaimo. I was excited to get back there.
yeah, it was awesome. Um,
Sorry, are you based in Nanaimo now, or that's just where you grew up?
Based in Nanaimo now. I lived in Vancouver for about 8 years.
Okay, hence
But
the title
yeah,
of the show.
yeah, pretty much. Uh, Born and raised in Nanaimo.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. You're from Vancouver, or you're Vancouver based?
I'm based in Vancouver, but I grew up in Victoria.
Oh,
I'm
sweet.
also, yeah, island
I
kid
got
for sure.
I got family there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't like them though, but whatever.
Well, Victoria's not for everyone.
Yeah. So how'd you get into comedy? Were you like the class clown, I guess you would say?
Uh, I mean, I think early on I had ambitions to be the class clown, but they were like the type that bursts out and disrupts class, but I only was that for like half of 4th grade, and then that behavior was well corrected by my teacher. And then after that I was just kind of the quiet kid, and I might say like a side comment or like under my breath to my desk mate or something, but I never was like the, oh, I have to have all eyes on me. Like it was never doing kind of like wild clownish stuff after that. But I definitely always wanted to like be seen as funny, or like that was always my way to process like how just content or how things would come out of me, like a life experience or whatever. Like I always wanted to kind of look at it a
Yeah.
little sideways.
Yeah. So you weren't like attention seeking?
I mean, I desperately wanted attention for sure, but uh I yeah, in that at that very early age kind of figured out there's a difference between like positive and negative attention. And I was like, oh, I don't want it this way though. I don't want it. Like I hate being in trouble, and I hate, so I was like, oh, I can't. I don't have the build for that style of like,
No.
no, I wish. I mean, it's just not in me. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, no, no, oh, don't be mad at me.
Um, when did what do you remember the first time you did stand up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So prior to comedy, I was a swimmer. I was a competitive swimmer.
No
Uh,
shit.
yeah, yeah, at a pretty high level, and I swam for University of Victoria. And even all that time, like, so from about 10 until 25, that's what I was pursuing. I was in this very high level athletics, and I didn't super want to be, but that's kind of the lane that I got into, and I like sort of became my identity, and I didn't really know how to stop or to get out of it. And that was my social group. That was like everyone I knew. And yeah, outside of that, my identity was Katie the swimmer. So yeah, I just kept doing that. But even as I was doing it, like I desperately wanted to be in musical theater or just performing of some kind. Like that's what I thought. So when I finally graduated university, and that's when I stopped swimming, then I had kind of an opportunity to look around, and it was time to become someone else. And at that time in Victoria, there wasn't a very robust stand-up comedy scene. There is now. It's incredible, and most cities have something, have some open mics going, have, because this the culture of stand-up, partly from things like podcasts, has grown so much from when I was wanting to start out. And I wanted to get into stand-up, but there wasn't a show, there wasn't a class, there wasn't anything. So I ended up taking some improv classes, and through that, I met people that did some sketch comedy, and I got into that world. And through that, I met some people, including one dude uh, whose name was Stu Palfrey, and he has passed on now, R.I.P. But he ran about once a year. He would host this amateur stand-up contest, and I'd met him, and he was very encouraging. And all these people that I'd met, kind of in this comedy community periphery, they would oftentimes remark that are like, oh, the way that you speak, it's like a stand up, or it seems like you have all these bits that you do. And so I did that show, which, yeah, like I say, was an amateur contest. And the first place prize for that, which was the only prize advertised, it was like, I think the winner got like $100 and the chance to do a little guest spot, which is like a 5-minute set on a professional show that was coming through town on a Saturday at this Roadhouse pub, and I placed second, but they also offered me a spot on that professional show, a little 5-minute little guest spot, and that's how I kind of got in to starting to do it.
Did you bomb?
How dare you? You think I came second with a bomb? How bad do you think everyone else on the contest was?
No, no. I think I ask that every time. It doesn't matter if it's a
I mean,
comedian,
I
it's
have
just a
bombed
musician.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, of course. I've done this like thousands and thousands of times.
It's
I
just a
mean, even at
question.
the show that you saw, I did 50 minutes. It's not like 50 minutes of it was absolutely crushing. I definitely said stuff that night that was like, oh, you hate that? I did a weird riff about how I don't care about pets to an audience full of nice people on Vancouver Island who all definitely have pets. And they were like, yeah, I think you might be a monster. It's interesting. It's one of the things that people ask about the most, I think, is bombing. And because I think if you're not doing stand up every night, or if you've never done stand up, that's like the biggest hindrance or the biggest fear that most people have. But like, I mean, nothing happens when you bomb.
No, no, no. It's just a question. Like I'm still waiting for like a really great bombing story.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's the thing is, I mean, they're very rarely great stories, right? Because usually it just means that things are kind of like a bit off. Like there's something miscommunicated. Like there's funny stories from performing and stuff. Uh, but yeah, they're very rarely are like incredible. Like I've bombed a TV set, and it's still not that notable. uh, that one was it was in Winnipeg. I was taping for a gala, and it was the first year that the newly returned Winnipeg Jets were in the postseason
okay,
for
yeah.
playoff hockey, and that night of our gala was the first postseason game for the newly returned Winnipeg Jets, and so the whole city was just like electric all day. Every like if you were in the city that day and were concerned about anything that wasn't that game, you were so weird. And here I was being like, well, I'm gonna tape this television. It was supposed to be, it's a pretty big theater, but it was very sparsely attended because everyone was watching the game. And half the people who were there in the audience were resentful because they had obviously been dragged there by someone else who had bought the tickets months in advance before the hockey schedule came out. And I was up first, and it was an early show. It was like 7 p.m., which uh, can be a very challenging time on a Friday night show because usually people kind of come straight from work and they usually haven't eaten and they have the whole week on their back. Like they're just kind of tired and they haven't had a chance to like decompress from the week before they start their Friday weekend. So they're just kind of tired, and that was definitely happening. And I wore something really weird, not weird for clothes, but weird for Winnipeg, like just kind of daring and sort of out there. And also the gala was themed, and the theme was like kind of truth to power. So my set was also like it was very political, and it was very feminist, and like that just was just also a lot for them to take in Winnipeg at like off the top of the show. And I walked out on stage and I looked out in the front row, and there was just an old dude asleep, full asleep, like full snoring. And I was like, I'm the start of we just got here. Like this show has been going for 10 minutes. And this dude's already just out. And I was like, yep, that's the tone. That's the tone of this whole set.
Was he alive?
I think
I
so.
think so. Paramedics just show up.
Yeah. I did have someone flatline at a show of mine recently up north, but
Oh
they came
shit.
back.
Okay.
It was outside in the parking lot, but we got them back.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So I saw on your website you're into yeah, actually you just mentioned that you like writing sketches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't produced any sketches in quite a while, but yeah, it is a passion. I've been in a number of sketch groups over the past for sure.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I took comedy writing at a In Focus Film School.
Cool.
Yeah, before I founded my production company. And fuck, I forget. She does stand up, but she mostly does like writing sketches and teaching. I forget her name though, but she was a great teacher of mine. Fuck, I wish I could remember her name. But yeah.
That
So who influenced you to do stand up?
hmm, like who in my life?
Well, not
Well,
well, it could be in your personal life, but it like in general.
this one is a little embarrassing, and particularly if you know me now and you know my content, it's nothing like this. But and it's not a comedian that I would say is particularly well respected among comedians today. But when I was growing up, like in my adolescence, kind of like late, like junior high era, I was obsessed with Dennis Leary.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I was too. Well,
yeah.
like
I
that's
mean, those two
because my
albums, they
my
were so
dad was a
huge.
fan of him, so that's how that works, right?
Sorry, who?
My dad was a fan of him,
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how. Yeah, and that's before I heard,
Sure.
pretty common that he's a
I
joke
get. I
thief.
mean, yeah, whatever. It's not obviously it's not something I listen to anymore, but yeah, his two albums, which I think I had on cassette, just were on like repeat and I could recite them word for word. And I thought, because I wanted to do stand up even at that time, even though I wouldn't tell anyone that because I thought that's a humiliating thing to admit at the time. But I thought that's the type of comedian that I would be, partly because I also was very angry then. I was very angry, I was very frustrated, and I thought that I was going to be like a very ranty, angry comic. Um, and then I grew up, and it turns out I'm just not very angry anymore.
No,
And
you
it
don't
turns
seem
out,
angry at all.
no, stuff rules. Every day, something is incredibly glorious, and I couldn't possibly connect with that version of myself. Like, obviously, there are things I'm incredibly angry about. There's systemic things, there's injustice and horrible atrocities happening. But genuinely, like every day, a tiny, like simple thing. It could be like a beam of sunlight or something. Like something will move me to the extent that I'm like, man, that's so glorious. Like I'm so simple now, and I'm such a totally different style of comedian than I ever imagined that I would be. Gratefully so, too, because I mean, honestly, it would just be so exhausting if that was your persona. The like,
Just be mad all the
oh,
time.
just mad all the time. Because then you have to go
Kevin
on stage.
Brennan.
Well, the thing about that too is that like maybe some people that go on stage and that's their persona, maybe they genuinely are like that hype, that angry all the time. But probably not. Most people, kind of exist in different states. But if you pick a particular persona, whatever it is, like if you're off the wall or yeah, you're crazy angry or like you're just something like that that's sort of at an 11, then you always have to be at 11. You don't ever get to do a show where you're like, "Oh, I'm just kind of tired today because the audience came to see 11."
Yeah,
Whereas
they
if you
came to
have a
see a
more kind
fucking
of
show.
sure,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Uh, but it's a little bit uh I mean, I love some razzle dazzle, but there's sort of a time and place for theatrics, I think. And in a stand up show, I prefer a much thinner veil between the performer and the audience. Like, I kind of like them to see like me as I actually am and
Yeah.
not.
I
And
hear
it,
you.
of course, I mean, it's a heightened version. Obviously, I don't always speak in like these witticisms that I've pre written and things, but, uh, I don't have a like prescribed note that I have to hit, I guess, which feels very freeing.
I hear you. I jive. I respect.
Mm. But I always think it's a funny that's funny that that was genuinely like my first and most major influence based on like the type of content that I do now. You're like, "Oh yeah, I was just like an angry white dude being angry about white dude stuff."
No, I hear you. Yeah, and then yeah, I think like it's cool for like a performer to show you know truth in their work. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
because if it's
I mean,
something that I
it's
can
stuff that I
relate
connect
to,
to.
then I'm gonna pick up on that and I'm gonna fucking chop it up with you. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when I started comedy, I was in my 20s and I still was pretty shrouded in a lot of shame and I didn't really want anyone to kind of know the real me. I didn't want to know the real me. Like, I'm not interested in whatever's in there. So I was doing so my jokes were yeah, a lot more kind of just observational stuff and I was having a lot of fun with it, but eventually, the first time that I told a joke that I was scared to tell because it was personal and it was like revealing a thing about myself that I prior to this joke had always like held pretty close. Uh the first time I started doing that joke and then I would see people in the audience nod. Like even one or two people nod, to kind of telegraph to me that they're like, yes, me too, or I've had a similar experience, or I know what you're talking about. Uh, and then I felt connected to these people in a way that I kind of, or a sense of connection that I had prior to that not always come across very easily because of this shame and kind of, hiding myself from others. Uh, and then I just found that so exciting. And stand up, it's not like it's not fun enough, or you don't get paid enough. Like there's a lot of reasons that are like there has to be something additionally rewarding to you into it, because it's not like it's so financially rewarding necessarily, like certainly not immediately, and potentially not ever, depending on what path you take. uh and for me it was connection. I was like, oh, this rules. I'm gonna, like, I love this. I'm gonna keep doing this. This is very fun and exciting. And that was something I only found after doing, uh, yeah, being a little more truthful on stage.
I hear you. Yeah. You just said something revealing that would be you consider embarrassing maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Four nipples? I have four
Imagine,
nipples.
like, I just had a litter, like I was like a fucking, like cow udders. Is that what you're saying?
I have four nipples. You want to
Four.
see?
Yeah, of course I do.
So I have, like like most people, two right here.
Okay.
Hey,
Hey, look at that.
yeah, that's a nice tattoo. That's
Ah.
probably in my top
Is this
three.
podcast only a video podcast, or are there audio listeners? Like, do you need to describe what just happened there?
Uh, no, I prefer video.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just didn't
no.
want to leave anyone out, you see?
Oh no,
Mm.
I that wasn't the first time I've shown my tit tattoo on
Eh,
here.
That's pretty fun. How long you had that?
Oh God, since 2021, maybe somewhere around there.
Nice.
I got actually banned from fuck that like 8 tattoo places in
8?
Vancouver. Yeah, so I had to go all the way to fucking Surrey.
Because 8 places would not put that tattoo on your body.
Oh yeah, they were highly offended. Yeah, I still have the emails. I'll pull them up sometime. They're great.
Were there different reasons from each place? I need to know more about this.
No, it was just like I reached out. I was like, "Hey, happy returning customer. Seeing if you got like an hour to uh give me some ink." And they're like, "Oh,
Hmm.
send me a picture." I was like, "Okay, here." And it was a picture of someone's tits. And they're like, "Oh my god, I'm highly offended." And
I was about to say, I was like, before you finish that, before you got, I
yeah,
mean, as soon as you said, like, halfway through the story, I was like, oh, those are a specific set of tits, right? Those
yeah,
are somebody's tits.
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't have like an artist rendering, like it is on your arm now, that you sent them something like that. You send them a picture of somebody you unsolicited, send them a picture of
Oh
somebody's
yeah,
tits.
oh yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can understand. I can see how there might have been some miscommunication.
No,
Okay.
it's all right. It's not their cup of tea. It's not their cup of tea. Whatever. I think it's hilarious. It's not like it's
Yeah,
theirs.
I'm not saying it's not funny, but you have to understand how that's, you can't just send someone a wild pair of tits without context like that.
Oh no, I was up front. I was like, "Oh, it's my friend's boobs."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I sent the picture right after.
Sure.
So maybe there was like they didn't see that last message, and then I sent it the
Well,
picture.
also you're asking them, that's a pretty big leap of faith, like asking them to be like, to just assume that your friend is cool with it and that you have her consent and that everyone is on board and this is a fun thing that everyone is doing together.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know.
No, I understand that is
There's
the
a lot of
context. I'm
alcohol
just
going
saying,
on
like,
at
it's
the
wild
time.
that you expected them to just be like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
I do like that it took you 8 shops and then you just had to go out to Surrey.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
At the place that put it on you, where there's like, no questions, for sure.
It was forget the name. I think it was a place in Gastown. They were named something else before the pandemic, then they shut down and they reopened under a different name. But yeah, in Gastown. But
In
yeah, I
gas.
forget the name, but
Okay.
anyways. Yeah, good times.
Four nipples.
Yeah. Um, cool. Um,
I'd be
Artie, do you
sick
got
if I
any?
had 6 nipples and I just one upped you. I was like, that's nothing. I just had
That
six
would be
nipples.
great. That would make my day.
Shit.
Do you have tattoos?
I have no tattoos.
I like that. Keep it like that.
Yeah, I think I will. I had a pretty a not insignificant rockabilly phase in my late 20s, and I feel like if you can get out of your rockabilly phase without getting tattoos, then you're probably gonna make it to the end. And now it feels very punk not to have them.
Yeah.
It's like the counter thing.
No, I like that. No, keep it like that.
I'm very extraordinarily indecisive and also very afraid of commitment. So both of those things are like I don't think tattoos are for me.
No, that's cool. I
I
respect
did have a
that.
friend, very funny comedian Deanne Smith, and they described I they have a lot of tattoos, and we're pretty similar. And I said something. I was like, well, I'm too afraid of commitment, and they were like, oh yeah, tattoos will help you with that because you get it, and then you're like, well, it's just there, nothing to be done about it.
Yeah. No, you gotta commit. It's there for life. It ain't going anywhere. Yeah, this one on my middle finger.
Is that a penis?
That is.
Cool.
That is.
Did was that like at a party style or like did you go to a shop for that?
Ooh, this was September. I went to a shop.
Okay.
I just walked in.
Okay.
And the guy was ecstatic. He was like, "Fabulous! I'm doing this right now."
Okay.
And
And you had other tattoos on your hands already, right? Someone didn't like put your first finger tat.
I had my buddy's name in Def Leppard font already on my knuckles.
Yeah, okay, right. Once your fingers are tatted up, it's like, okay, we're in
Yeah.
it.
But no, that was a great week. I don't know if it was a great week. It was actually pretty.
Sure.
I went on a vacation. It took me 3 flights to get from Vancouver to Los Angeles.
It is not far. That shouldn't be 3.
No, it shouldn't. I was highly inebriated, so I got kicked off. The third
Right.
time was the charm.
Sure. Okay.
And
Oh,
then
like it wasn't like it's not like you got on various flights and you tried to get on flights a couple times and were getting kicked off.
I would get on and then get kicked off
Sure,
before
yeah.
we take off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it took me 3 tries. Then the week in LA was hell. Actually, if you watch the second episode of my podcast, it it was sort of like in the midst of all that, I guess you would say. I did
Okay.
the podcast with a comedian Josh Edelman. He was kind enough to let me in his house, even though I
Okay.
was highly inebriated. But no, it was a good one. Um, and then after LA, went to my cousin's wedding in Campbell River. That was a nightmare. Then went to Port Alberni. That's when I got the wiener tattoo.
Okay. And this was in timeline wise, if I'm understanding, this is the year that you have stopped doing hard drugs, butter drinking, or this is just full on.
No, just booze at the time.
Yeah, yeah. But so
Yeah,
like this year having that is in that era.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, yeah. That was September, first week of September, 2023. Yeah.
Is it a friend's dick? Did you do the same? Did you bring a
No,
picture?
no,
No.
no. He just started going at it. he didn't even show me at first, like, "Hey, does this look okay?" And I was like, "No." He just went fully in, and yeah, that's what he
Just
put.
freehand, like just with
Yep,
the needle, not even not
yep.
like a okay.
Does that sound
And
crazy to you?
uh no, that's not the word I would use at all.
Okay.
Um
What word
that
would you use?
I mean this just it feels right in line with like the tail end. It feels like this just feels like that feels like exactly what you do in the year after you stop doing hard drugs but you're still drinking real hard.
Yeah. Okay.
And it feels like a yeah, a pretty rad little time marker that you have on your hand to be like, hey,
It's there for life. It's
that
hilarious.
was a time, that was a chapter, and it's a we're through that chapter, but it's a chapter that we lived, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Well,
think there's something beautiful about that.
yeah, I agree. Um, so awesome. Now you know a slight bit about me. I know a
Yeah.
slight bit about you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you got any shows coming up?
I do. I'm very excited. I am playing the Art Bar in Saskatoon on February 13th. We're doing a Galentine's Day themed show. And I will be at the Casino Regina on the 14th for a cool Valentine's Day show. Um yeah, and then locally here in Vancouver, I'll have some fun stuff coming up. I have the privilege to be on a couple of fun local shows during JFL Northwest coming up here. Um, yeah, I'm on Camp Comedy on the 19th and, or on the 20th, sorry, and some other ones. I didn't ask when this episode comes out, so maybe it won't, I don't know. I should have asked that before I started announcing dates for
I'm
February.
gonna post on my social medias this weekend.
Well, there you go then. Yeah. If you have a huge following in Saskatoon, that would really help me out.
I do not have a huge following in
Me
Saskatoon.
either. God.
No, I don't know any. I don't think I've ever met anyone from Saskatoon, to be honest.
Oh, it's God's country. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to go, but I don't know a ton of people there, so I am fingers crossed that other people want to come out and yeah, hear some jokes at a very fun venue.
Awesome. Well, I would be there if I could, but no, I'm not going to Saskatoon.
Sure. I do have you're in Nanaimo. I have another show in Chemainus on February 16th,
Oh, sweet.
headlined by the very funny Arthur Simeon, one of my favorite comics and people.
I will be there then,
Hell
100%.
yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be dope. That just started. That just promo just started for that today. But I'll
Awesome.
post about that. I'll send you some stuff.
Cool. So you got dates all up on your website?
Yeah, you bet.
Cool. I'll put your website in the YouTube description. Um uh Want to give a shout out to anyone?
No, I just want you to give me that dick. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's not even faded yet. Huh. It's been a
I'm
while.
also now realizing that I'm very glad that it's not an audio version only because I realized that what I just said was like, no, I just want you to give me that dick, but that's not.
No, that's no.
There wasn't. That's not the notes
I
on my phone.
understood. I understood. No, this is more video based. It might have came out wrong. Doesn't matter. It sounds hilarious.
Okay.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I think that does it.
Okay. Well,
Want to
thanks for having
say
me.
I want to say thanks for doing my shitty podcast,
You got
and
it.
looking forward to seeing you in Shemanis. I'll bring my aunt.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love that.
Cool.
All
Awesome,
right.
Katie. Well, take her easy, and y'all are off the East Van Dan shit show. Peace.
Bye.
Laters.